Welcome back to Roundtail Restoration, everybody. My name is Chris. What I've got here is the pedal box and interior ventilation louver, at least one side, for my 1964 Triumph TR4. You know, some of the more mundane portions of restoration, a lot of people don't do YouTube videos on things like interior pieces that you're never going to see and stuff like that. But to do a proper restoration, at least in my opinion, you have to do that stuff. You should do that stuff if you want to get the car restored back to original. So in this video, we're going to restore this pedal box, paint it up, clean it up, rebush it, all that kind of good stuff, and take these louvers, which are nasty and yucky, and restore them to, I don't know, near factory finish. So thanks a lot for watching. Let's get it sorted. What I have here are the interior vents and the pedal box for the car, and I'm going to clean these up and get them painted. Random low-hanging fruit here that I can do, just to, if nothing else, change pace a little bit. So we're going to start to disassemble all this stuff, take a lot of pictures. The ventilation boxes here are relatively intricate for what they are, and you can see this got this heavy felt around it, which appears to be in halfway decent shape, and this rubber seal, which is also appears to be in halfway decent shape. But the trick is going to be getting this off without doing any damage to that stuff, so that if I decide that I need to keep it, I can. And then also you've got the gears in here and everything to be able to make this stuff work. So we'll start digging into this, seeing how it goes. We'll go ahead and start to disassemble. Like I had mentioned, I want to get this felt off without doing any damage if I can. The glue is just kind of peeling it away from the metal here. Glue is pretty dry, so not really giving me any problems here. All right, so there's that guy. There's a big felt pad inside of here too. So these got these little spring clips or whatever those things are called. They're holding everything in, so we'll get that out here in a minute. But let me work on this rubber seal first. It is cracked. I'm gonna go grab an orange stick here and see if that can help me. I don't know if these seals are still sold or not. This is just a real heavy felt. I probably can find that somewhere. But this rubber, I don't know if anybody sells it or if you can get it. So it is relatively cracked. So let me go grab a rubber or an orange stick real quick. We'll get this off. So I'm just running the orange stick down in between the metal and the rubber, favoring the metal if I can, so I don't cut into the rubber. So there's that rubber piece, and unfortunately I was afraid of that it didn't fit over top of. It's grooved here. It's not in horrible shape. Definitely reusable if necessary, but again, I don't know if they make them, but I'll find out. So set that aside, and now you're pretty much down to a husk here. You've got this little clip that holds that guy on, two little clips that hold those guys on, and then that shaft should slide out of there, and the internal vent, you can see that opening and closing there. That internal vent should slide right out. So let's do that. And there are felt pieces on either side of those. So we're gonna take some pictures here real quick. If anybody knows a trick for removing these more easily, appreciate the tip. That went flying, but rescued. All right, so now that's good. We'll get these two off. So I'll get these two off here, and I'll come back and I'll show you with it like that. Got all those clips off, and now this guy is ready to come out here. So this is the actuator that would sit in the car. It's got a little bushing washer on there. See that little thing? And then the shaft with a bolt head. And then you can see, I think, where it says right hand and left hand in here. I don't know how well that's showing up on the camera. But on the little white plastic piece that's in here that I haven't gotten out yet, there's also a right hand and a left hand little mark. And depending on what side you're on, you'll line this one up. So this is the left hand one. So I'll take some pictures of that just so I have my my right line up here. It also looks like there's another little something in here. Looks like that's attached. Yeah, another little washer, but that's attached. That runs through. So we'll set this aside. And we'll see what I can do about getting that shaft out of there. So the other side here, this arm here, post that runs right through here and allows that to swivel when you hit the actuator, that came right out for me on this one. The other one seems to be rusted in. But this is what the inner little door, the little flap looks like. So this white gear here is screwed on with two little flathead screws, and then you got felt, heavy felt sheet here, and this stuff is kind of flat, not very good shape anymore, kind of shrunken up on the side, so I'm sure it's not really providing a whole lot of sealing. So that'll be something to look into getting new ones of those, but we'll get that off, get this little white gear off, and that'll be part of the stuff that I'm going to clean up and paint. So we got those ventilation ducts all apart. Finally got that last little post out. So again, we'll get this stuff into the blasting cabinet, get it all cleaned up and get it painted in epoxy primer. Next up, another mundane task here is the pedal box. This obviously has seen much better days, being beat up with all the brake fluid and everything like that, which just destroys paint. And this has been apart a couple times, it looks like, just by looking at it. The bolts don't match up and everything. So we're going to go ahead. All this is just brute disassembly here. A handful of 1/2-inch bolts and a 9/16 bolt that hold the pedals themselves in. And I can't quite tell. I'm sure these pedals are supposed to be, you can see, I'm sure they're supposed to be split like this, but I can't tell. This one looks a little bent. So I don't know if it's really is bent or if that's how the factory did. I mean, you can see the bend, but I would think they would bring it back straight. I'm not real sure. And I'm also not that worried about it. But this should come apart relatively easily. And again, some pictures here. Same thing. We'll get this cleaned up, get it blasted, and get it painted. So I mentioned I thought the pedals might be bent, but looking at it, you can see that where you would put your foot, these are perfectly straight. So they would correct with the weld, I guess. So that looks good. Now these pedals are completely seized. I can't move them at all. So we're going to have to, obviously take this apart and try to break the pedals. There's bushings in here. I think they're brass bushings. We're going to need new springs, all that kind of good stuff. But it's like I said, this is pretty much just brute taking apart stuff. So we'll try to get this apart. See if I can get this bolt broke here. Probably not with this little ratchet. No. All right, so we're going to go take this over to the vise, get the breaker bar on it. I'll get some PB blaster on it, and we'll see if we can't get this thing apart without breaking something. So these bolts weren't too tight actually, but now the pedals are moving, but they're moving together. So that's a little disconcerting because I'm afraid that all of the bushings and everything in there are pretty much all one piece right now. So it's going to be a little tricky, I think, to get this out, but we'll see. Maybe it'll slide right out here, but I don't think so. So we'll get this top piece off, the master cylinder housing. All right, so there's that, all nasty. And then the pedals here. And these bolts are captive. It looks like they're welded in. It's interesting. I'm not used to them welding bolts in, so that's definitely how it's done, though. But again, those pedals are all together. So we're just going to have to start beating on them probably. Got some heat. The clutch pedal is getting rounded out. I don't know if you can see that well, but you can see that's kind of ovaled up. I had the same problem on the Spitfire. Essentially all I did with that was fill it in with some weld and then re-drill it. A little tricky, but it was a solution. So again, we'll try to get these pedals out of here and continue on. Kind of an interesting construction here. So the pedals are still both C's to each other, but they're getting closer to coming out. So these are clips or whatever you want to call them. They fit down over top and hold everything in, and that's where these bolts are welded to on this thing here. But not sure that I'm going to be able to get the whatever this piece is called here out without the pedals being mobile. So we're going to have to definitely have to probably do some persuasion here with a hammer or something like that. So again, I'll see if I can keep getting this stuff loose, but we'll have to come back. I was able to get it all apart. There's like a little collar here, and on this one, which is the clutch, it spins. I don't think it really matters all that much, but the other one is not. But these are kind of yucky, so I'm going to stick this in the ultrasonic sink and get all the grease and mung off of these as much as I can before I stick them in the blast cabinet, because otherwise the blast cabinet's just going to get all nasty and dirty. And then get this stuff cleaned up, and we'll start looking at, I think what I might do, I got to think about it a little bit if I really want to do it. Just fill these holes completely with weld and then re-tap in the center and use that as essentially the correct size. I got to get my diameter right. So that's what we'll do. We'll get this stuff, like I mentioned, into the ultrasonic sink, get that ultrasonicing, get it cleaned up, and then get it blasted. Start look at it getting painted. So what I got here is the brake pedal, the top of it, and you can see that the circle up at the top, this is where it would connect up into the master cylinder. It's pretty round. It's a little knocked out, but not too bad. But then the clutch, which obviously gets operated a lot more and frequently, is blown out pretty good. So all I'm going to do before I go ahead and sandblast these and paint them, I'm just going to take some weld. I'm going to fill that in with just my MIG welder, and then I'm going to leave it, sandblast it, paint it, and I will worry about where to put the holes. They are 5/16 inch holes, but I'll worry about when to put the holes in and everything as I move further along in building the pedal box back up. Because I think, if I remember correctly, everything will essentially go together, and it can kind of assemble this totally out of the car, so I can kind of do a bunch of dry fits and everything like that. I'm not incredibly concerned about getting those right now. So we're going to go ahead, get that welded up. And then I've got a bunch of stuff here that I've been working on. We're going to get that all sandblasted up and then start making stuff all nice and pretty and put back together. So you can probably hear the fan running for the welder. I don't know how long it's been since I welded, but it's been a hot minute, as the kids these days say. 1/4 inch steel, so this is about the extent of the welding that I can do, but I'm not joining anything here. I'm just filling a hole. So we're just going to go ahead and with the weld, like I said, slowly build this up. I'll flip it over, build it up again. And bigger the blob, the better the job. Essentially, it's going to be a little hard to drill through because it's the weld metal is harder than normal steel. But I'm not going to worry about it too much. And like I said, I'll worry about re-drilling these holes on the other side here. So go ahead and start over here, and then we'll flip it, like I said, and we'll finish it up. Get the clutch pedal, do the same thing. All right, that one's done, pretty easy. Go to the next one. That should do it. A little bit of concern for some air pockets in there maybe, but frankly not much of one. So we'll let this cool down, and then we'll go ahead and start blasting a bunch of stuff. Picking back up with the pedal box, obviously some work has occurred. I've got everything painted. I've got everything zinc plated. The zinc plating is still not going real well. It's on there, but it's dull and nasty looking. I just don't know what I'm doing wrong, but hopefully it should be on there. So we're just going to let that, I'll put it together and then let it, keep an eye on it. If stuff starts rusting, then I'll undo it. But I got new bushings for the pedals, so we're going to be pressing those in and then just essentially reassembling all this stuff. There is a diagram of it in the workshop manual. They don't have the master cylinders, so I'm not going to worry about putting those in or anything yet. But this is all kind of one unit that comes in and goes out of the car. It's a little bit painful to get to all the bolts and everything unless you take the whole thing out and put the whole thing in. So we're going to go ahead and press the bushings in first, and then we'll just start putting it all together. One other thing to point out is I did drill the holes back open for where the pins connect for the master cylinders. Not perfectly centered, but I think there's enough play and everything that it doesn't really matter. This one's not that great, actually. This one's not too bad. But I did just use the drill press to drill them out. So, like I said, we're just going to go ahead, not a whole lot here, and press these guys in. Try to get it centered up on the press here so I don't get it crooked. All right, so just got the height here built up a little bit just to give me a platform. And then we're just going to kind of get it started a little bit, not really press on it that much with just my hand. Kind of get it seated. Stick it up here into the press itself and press it. All right, that's all there is to it. Not very complicated and goes in pretty easy. So we'll do the other pedal and then go back to assembly. Now that I got those bearings in, to point out that these pedals are not symmetrical, they're not the same thing. You can kind of tell that they're not even angled the same, but when they get put together, they're going to kind of go together like this. So the clutch pedal and the brake pedal, obviously, and then you can see on the top there where the levers connect to the master cylinders, how that kind of looks. So that's going to sit like this in the passenger compartment. And then the pedal box itself, the top of it, this is going to be sitting in the engine compartment. Got the two big holes for the master cylinders here. The actuation and bolted down and everything like this. And then you got this guy, it's going to come from the passenger compartment and kind of pinch it to the firewall bulkhead, whatever you want to call it. So that kind of comes in like this into there, and then the pedals get all pinched up in here. And you've got various brackets here. We've got springs, got the bushings like I mentioned, the bolts and everything to go along with this. So we're going to go ahead now. Got the bushings in. You got this center guy here. That's going to go through, and these bearings tightened up, obviously. So it's going to be a pretty tight fit. I might have to take this over the wire brush and get my coating back off of here. Let me see what's up here. Yeah, so I'm gonna take this over. I did zinc plate it, so I'm gonna just take it over to the wire brush and get it knocked down a little bit. Put some oil on it. Obviously, you want this to be tight, but not that it can't roll. So let me go take care of that and see if I can get this to fit in a little bit better. So the way this goes together is you have these. You can see that ring on the pedal, and then that ring fits in this little groove. And then in addition to that, you have this clamp, and that clamp is going to kind of go down and capture the top of it. So that's how that's going to sit like that. And there's going to be a bolt that comes through here that's going to bolt in to the bushing, or the whatever that rod thing is called. Let's see what it's, the pedal shaft. So we're going to be pushing the pedal shaft through here. I did clean it up a little bit. You can see how kind of shiny it is, but still not great. So we're going to go ahead and get the pedals landed, and that's, you got to kind of come in from the top with that, and then bring them down and make sure that ring is engaged, and then we'll put the pedal shaft through both of these, and I'm probably going to have to use the press maybe to do that, and it's going to be tight, but that's all right. And then we'll put these clamps down and do the bolts, big old 5/6 or 3/8 inch bolts, and then we'll come in from the top for the pedal box from the that's going to sit in the engine compartment. Yeah, sorry, I kind of got away from myself a little bit there, but essentially what I ended up doing was pressing. I stuck the shaft in the freezer to cool it down and to cause it to shrink up a little bit, and that was the trick there. And then I pressed the whole pedal assembly together on the press first, instead of trying to do it inside the housing here. So this is all essentially together now, like so. And then these pieces I'm going to put on first, because they're not going to fit unless I get them kind of in there. Once these pedals go down, it kind of locks it in. And then you just kind of slide everything down, and the pedal tops kind of interfere with this piece a little bit. I'm scratching paint and everything, but I don't really care. So we'll just kind of work the pedals down, keeping those clips down, and the clips go inside the ring, not on the inside the part of the ring, and then inside the pedal housing. So this is a little tricky, getting all this lined up. Now I finally got it. So like I said, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see in there. Let me get a light. The support brackets, those little things, these on the outside here, that fits in there, and then I've got to screw that in, obviously, and then I'm going to have bolts on the top, and that fits inside the ring, and then the ring pinches it between the bottom, this big support bracket that's going to come up to the floor, and there's just a little bit of gap between the two pedals. So hopefully you can see that and how that went together. Sorry that I couldn't show you a little bit better on camera, but it was just, I needed like 12 hands to do that. This box is going to go on top like this. And though this, I'm going to put it together like that, but it's not going to stay like that because it's going to have to come back apart to go on the car. But that goes like that. And then you got lock washers and a nut that are going to come in there on those holes. Get these all started and then just snug them up. So there's that. Do have springs here, and I don't, I'm going to get new ones, so I'm not going to worry about that now. But essentially that pedal box is refurbished and ready to go on the car at some distant future date. As the coup de grace, finishing touch for the pedal box, I put pads on. These pads I picked up from Moss, even though they had British Northwest stickers on them, which is interesting. I remember the ones I got from Spit Bits for the Spitfire were a lot tougher than these. These are not fitting as tight, and granted they're only $2 or $3, but the other ones were a lot harder to get on, and you can see that pedal's moving, so I'm not so sure that these are going to be good replacements. I might go back out to Spit Bits or something and try to find some. But now what we got here is the dash, and you can see this is it's backwards here, so this is actually the driver's side where you can see the cutouts for the gauges, and we're going to be looking at getting these ventilation louvers back in, so that's going to fit. If I can do it without scratching my paint up here, that's going to fit something like that, give or take. So there's a little notch, or not a notch, but a rim here on the dash. That's going to fit over that. Now on this side is where you have the heavy felt pieces like this. I could not source felt that one wasn't either cost prohibitive based on how thick it is and everything, or just that I didn't think it would be worth it or work. This stuff's not in great shape, but it's in good enough shape for a seal, I believe. On the other side, you have these rubber seals, and I'll show you here in the passenger compartment real quick where they fit up. In the body of the car here, it's actually been quite some time since I've been under here, and everything still kind of looks okay. But that's that big cutout right there is where this other side goes of the ventilation duct here, and all that is, like I said, is rubber, and that's just gonna, as you put the dash in, I assume that's just gonna crush that rubber a little bit, and that kind of points up, so that's just gonna fit in something like that to let nice, cool, clean, fresh air come out and blow you in the face. So let's go ahead, go back over to the bench. We'll start getting these things back together. There's some internal louvers and turn on and off slides that need to go back together. Been a little while since I played with this stuff, so I can't remember if I showed you the felt, but I did find felt that was about 8 millimeters thick, and that is what I'm going to use for the little doors that open and shut. And this felt is just kind of cut out, and it seals on the inside of this door here. So let's go ahead now and start looking at getting this put back together in the proper way. So we'll start putting this back together now. You got this door like I showed you, and that door is going to fit in here. One of the nice things about this is once you kind of get going, it only goes together one way. So because the door is obviously curved on this side, and this is curved on the inside, that's not going to work any other way. The only other thing is, if you can just barely see there, it says RH, and over here it says LH, so left hand and right hand. If you didn't take pictures, you just got to remember which side that goes back together. Now this door is going to go in like this, and this is the left-hand louver like I showed you. So I've got the left-hand portion pointing out there, because in this hole here is where the big knob that's going to stick through the dash and allow you to actuate this thing, that's where that's going to go. So there's just 2 little screws that hold this white gear to the louver door here. So we'll go ahead and get those screws started and screwed down with a screwdriver. So now we're going to go ahead and slide this door in, and then take the shaft that I recently zinc plated poorly, put that in, get it all lined up here. And this is just a matter of pushing this thing through and then threading it through the door. Not a whole lot to this. And coming through the other side. All right, and what's going to eventually clamp those things down is these little, I can't even remember what they're called, pain in the ass things. And I did get a new set of these, because really you're only supposed to use these once, because even though these look like I could reuse them, I do have other ones that are just sized just fine. But we're gonna leave it temporary right now. And then here's the big black knob. You can see left hand and right hand there. So we need to line the left hand up with the left hand here, and that's going to go through that hole. Now, if you look at the knob, it doesn't look like it's in very good shape. It's kind of white and stained. I'm going to leave it like that. I tried to rejuvenate it a little bit using stuff like you would get for the plastic trim on your car, and it helped. It just kind of made it shinier, really. Took the scratchiness out of it. But I'm going to leave it. I think it adds a little bit of character, and frankly, it's not really all that worth it to me. Then you got a little nut, but without any threads, or bolt, but without any threads, that goes through that all the way. And that presses through that hole. Again, double check those left hand and right hand are lined up. Ooh, and one thing I forgot there, there's also a little washer in there, just a little thin aluminum washer. Get that in there. And that's really all there is to it. So now when I rotate this, you see that, if I showed you to it, when I rotate it, you can see that door opens, so that'd be obviously full flow and then closed. So what keeps that sealed are these heavy duty pieces of felt. So what I've got to do, glue the felt on the door. So I've got these cut out already in the approximate shape they need to be. This one, I was a little too hard of a curve here, so it doesn't really seal that well. But this one is fine, and the square ones are fine. But I'm going to kind of eyeball it, and then all I'm going to use is some weather strip and gasket adhesive. We use that all over the place for all the felt and all the rubber, and kind of get that lined up. So I think this is going to be a little hit and miss with this. So I'm going to eyeball it and then see where I want that seal to be on that louver plate or on the door flapper, and then try to glue it down. I'm going to rough it up a little bit. One piece of felt gets done on the top, the other piece, or on the front that you can see, the other piece of felt comes from the other side, so that when you open the door or shut the door, the felt closes. So on the bottom here, you're gonna have a piece of felt sticking up. On the top where the curve is, you're gonna have the felt on the other side. So I got the flapper here, and I've got it scuffed up on the sides that I'm gonna glue the felt to. I've got the felt cut out relatively close. It's not perfect. It's a little tricky. You probably can't see it very well, but you got like a little rib in here. And as that door flops, that felt comes into contact with the rib, and it's kind of on the opposite side that I had originally thought. I took pictures of everything when I took it apart, so I wouldn't mess up putting it back together. But I don't really expect this thing to be perfect by any means. I'm sure there's going to be gaps around that the felt's not going to fill, and there's going to be air that would flow through, but I'm not that concerned. This rubber did go on there fine, and it's sticking fine with that adhesive, so that's good. Again, I'm not real concerned about that because it's going to all be compressed anyway. But for this, I'm going to use, instead of the yellow stuff, I'm going to use just regular headliner adhesive. Hopefully that'll stick. I'm going to tape off the stuff that I don't want to get adhesive all over, put a nice sheet of cardboard down, and then spray the felt, spray the metal, put it on there, let it cure up, and then try to put it in. I'm not sure how long it cures for before I can do anything. 30 minutes. So hopefully within about a half an hour, I'll be able to test fit this and make sure I'm going right. Again, I'll probably have to take it apart, kind of trim the felt as best I can. It's hard to, I tried sandpaper and stuff, and it's hard to kind of trim really, really finely So there might be something out there, but I don't know what it is. So we're going to go ahead, like I said, follow along with that and see what happens. So we'll go ahead and put this guy in there. Put the shaft through. Now, like I said, I don't really expect this to be a perfect seal or even even a seal at all, but it'll be pretty, at least when it's done, I think. All right, so we got the shaft through, and it's going to operate like that. And yeah, there's all sorts of light through there. I don't know how well you can see it. Let me grab a light. You can see all the light through there, but I don't think I really care. I wish I had a little bit more play time on the adhesive, but I didn't. So again, take the big black knob, you line it up right hand to right hand on the knob there, and then as you want to open this thing, you're going to go like this, and that's going to open, and as you want to shut it, you're going to shut it like that, and there you go, and it's going to shut. So really, the last thing to do is put those little clips on there to get this all tied in. I got to remember the little bushing. I'm going to go ahead and lubricate this a little bit with a little red grease, and this one will be done, and I'll move on to the next one. So for the rubber seal on the bottom, these really only go on one way. You can tell, I hope, that this angle up here is a lot more shallow than this one is here. And if you look at the back of the rubber, that's the same way. Now, much like I did with the knobs, I kind of treated this rubber with that plastic stuff. It said it worked on rubber, chemical guy stuff. I mean, again, you can't get these. We're trying to be very careful. Some of this rubber is a little bit damaged, so I'm going to try to be careful to put it back together properly. It looks like it wasn't really put on real well in the first place, or maybe the previous owner did it. But we're going to go ahead. Again, I've got the weather stripping cement here. I'm going to do a dry fit first and kind of run it around and use one of my orange sticks and kind of run around and make sure that it kind of fits in there and everything looks good. And then, unfortunately, I'll take it back off, get the weather stripping on there, and then just on the metal, I think, and then put it back on and kind of cross my fingers and hope it sticks enough. I'm not worried about a real tight seal here. I'm not worried about that it stays like a carpet adhesive where you want it nice and flat. I'm really just pinching this thing anyway between the dash and this thing. So I just want something to hold it in place while I do that. So let me go get my orange stick. We'll do a dry run, and then we'll do it for real. And also, I'm going to scuff up the paint around here. Again, what we're going to do is now I'm going to go ahead, scuff this tape up around here, put a little of this rubber adhesive on there. I might try to use a tongue depressor here and put our rubber adhesive inside, I think, instead of putting it around the metal. I think I'd rather squeeze it out than slide it down and lose control of it that way. So let's try that. Let me scuff up first. Again, all I'm doing with the scuffing is just trying to give that adhesive just a little bit of bite, only about 1/4 of an inch or so. I don't want to take the paint off, obviously, because I don't want it to rust. Now we'll take the weather adhesive, which has been sitting in here for years, so who knows if it even is any good anymore. Again, I'm not looking for total adhesion here. So I run a bead down the crevice, and then take the tongue depressor, run it in there a little bit. It does smell like it's going to work. And it's sticky. All right, so there's that. Again, the wide corner with the not so wide corner. We'll get this lined up. And we'll just push it down. And I got this one spot over here where the rubber's not in the right spot. Now it should be. All right, well, that should be about it. Got some excess here. So there you go. We'll see how this works. I'm going to give it ample time to cure overnight, and do the other one here. Give it time to cure overnight, and then see if it actually stuck. I'm a little bit less confident in this than I am in the felt, because the felt's... So as I said, I was going to just reuse that felt on the... this is the dash side of it. So that's all I did. But it operates smoothly, pretty good. You can see it go through. Everything nice and smooth there. Again, I wish I had kind of had a little bit more time to push these down. And I haven't done the second side completely yet, so that'll be a lessons learned. And this is the passenger side, so who cares in the passenger compartment anyway. But we'll try to get that sealed up a little bit better. So that's going to be it for this video. All right, everybody, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you think. Well, it didn't go too bad. These louvers are a little bit more difficult than I thought. Again, kind of a complicated system for such a simple thing. The pedal box was fine. That's purely mechanical. Obviously, still need to get master cylinders and everything on here. But everything should work and smoothly, nicely greased up, all that good stuff. So that's all I got. Thanks again for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Cheers.